Hello everybody and welcome to another short form episode of Poddywood. I am one of your co-hosts, Steve Hester, and who do I spy over there? Why, if my instincts are correct and my deductions are accurate, that is one of my co-hosts. Could it be Andrew?
It could be. I've
What are you
just
doing?
noticed by looking in the camera, there's this weird piece of hair that's just sticking up. I can't. You ever try when you look in a camera and you think your finger's going the right way and you end up like all the way back there and it's like, what's going on? Whatever. I know it's distracting, but hi. Andrew Roger Carson here. Short form episode yet again this week.
Mm-hmm.
In view of the current strikes that are going on, we decided just to throw these little ones out. We still do have the occasional ones that we have in the bank coming out. We do have our LA Confidential and Action Jackson one.
Eventually.
At some point. Today, we wanted to touch on a little special bit of film history tied in with classic English literature. And It kind of came about by a bit of freaky occurrence this past week, didn't it, Steve?
Yeah, the other day I was watching Sherlock Holmes' Game of Shadows, simply because it was there and I needed something on in the background while I was editing, and I sent a message to Andy saying, I've always fancied being in a Sherlock Holmes production. Oh, playing Watson would be great. I'm a bit too fat to play the great detective, but playing Watson would be great. To which I got a reply of, where did that come from? Because at the very same time that I sent that, what were you doing, Andy?
Well, I was writing a book, which is probably available now, and if it is, here's the link. If not, then it'll be a
You'll just have to wait, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost done. I'm writing a book basically on 70s cinema. The unsung hero movies of 70s cinema that had a greater influence than a lot of the bigger movies did. And I had just written a paragraph in regards to Murder by Decree, which was a Sherlock Holmes movie. So naturally, as soon as I've just finished that paragraph writing about Murder by Decree, Steve messages me saying he wants to be in a Sherlock Holmes movie. Look at it from my vantage point. I'm like, how does he know this? Is this document shared? What is going on here? But it was one of those weird instances. And then
Camera's working. Yeah.
And then we just started kind of back and forthing a bit about Sherlock Holmes. And it was like, you know what? This is as good a time as any to talk about those cinematic iterations of Sherlock Holmes that we have had over the years.
And there have been many. So from the likes of Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce all the way up to Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law, he is a character that has stayed the test of time, has mutated and morphed into so many different forms. Even the zeitgeist over the last 10 years or so, when you had the Downey Jr. version movies come out, as well as the BBC's version of Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. You had Elementary come out at the same time as well, with Johnny Lee Miller and Lucy Liu as Joan Watson.
I was always a Hound of the Baskervilles fan, so I loved pretty much every version of Hound of the Baskervilles that has been out. I recently watched the Basil Rathbone version just 2 weeks ago. I had it on my big screen here, and it's great. Other than that, the Peter Cushing version of Hound of the Baskervilles, is great as well, a bit different. And I've got a really big thing for, I think it was the 1983 version that was shown on ITV that was frickin' terrifying.
Which one is that? The
Denham Elliott,
Jeremy Brett? No,
Martin Shaw from Run the Gauntlet.
Oh yes. No, I know the one.
The dog in that was terrifying.
Oh, it was. That is the thing. Conan Doyle is actually responsible for creating this very specific genre of fiction, which is the paranormal mystery.
Yes.
And it is something which has been aped ever since, which is the idea that there is a paranormal element to the story. That the detective or detectives, and it doesn't matter if it's Sherlock Holmes or Scooby Gang or whoever, they can unravel it by applying actual, practical, real-world means. But that doesn't stop the fact that this is basically a great big off dog that is covered in like green phosphorescent moss with drool coming down its fangs and wide staring eyes, and it is absolutely terrifying. I don't think I've ever seen a version of the story where it hasn't been scary.
I will actually tell you the first Sherlock Holmes movie I did ever see.
Go on.
Was Basil the Great Mouse Detective.
To be honest, I haven't actually seen that one.
You're joking me.
I haven't seen that one.
God.
I wanted to go see that when that first came out, but my parents didn't take me to see it. I can't remember when that came out. It could have been around about the time my grandmother died, so that might be why. But I never got around to seeing it. My first introduction to Holmes, and I did mention this years ago.
John Holmes?
No, not John Holmes. No, that's a...
I was much younger.
we don't want to dive too deeply into that. This is a family show. It was and still remains one of my favorite Sherlock Holmes movies, and it's Without a Clue.
Oh, Michael Caine and Ben
Kingsley. But in that
Morty.
You've got the roles reversed. So you've got Watson as the genius who hired this alcoholic, womanizing gambler, played by Michael Caine, to pretend to be Holmes, and it's a wonderful British film. You've also got what's his name? Paul? Is it Paul Freeman?
Yes. Yeah, it would be Paul Freeman
as Artie Morty, like you say. And it's a wonderful movie. It's just this wonderful, light, frothy British romp from a time where the British film industry was just on its arse.
Yeah, Sherlock Holmes had also seen better days around time. In the late 70s, you had... Do you remember the Peter Cook and Dudley Moore version?
Oh,
vaguely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't good. Then, of course, you had Barry Levinson's Young Sherlock Holmes, which I've got a soft spot for that movie. It's not perfect, but it is so enjoyable.
Scary, though, when I first saw it as a little kid.
Terrifying. Oh, yeah. That was around that time that I think Spielberg was in one hell of a dark place.
He was getting divorced. He was taking out on everyone. Like, Stephen, we can make this light and frothy Sherlock Holmes adventure. Screw it. Let's have stained glass windows coming to life and being attacked by food stuff. Do it. Scare the kids.
There's hundreds. I mean, I think the 70s probably had some of the best for Sherlock Holmes, because, as I mentioned, you had Murder by Decree, where Christopher Plummer played Sherlock Holmes. Fantastic performance. And James Mason was Watson.
Watson now.
Yes, he was.
Yes.
Then you have the one with Nicole Williamson as Sherlock Holmes. I think it was Alan Arkin as Watson. 7% Solution.
Right. Yes.
Which I really, really like that film. And then, of course, you have The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother. Yeah.
That was that Gene Wilder's directorial debut on that one as well?
I think it might have been.
It was.
Yeah, because it was after... Was it after Blazing Saddles, or was it around the same time? I know it was after Young Frankenstein.
Definitely after Young Frankenstein, yeah.
And there was The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes as well, with Robert Stevens, and that was directed by Billy Wilder.
Did you by any chance see Mr. Holmes, starring Sir Ian McKellen?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yes, that was an unexpected take. What happens when the world's greatest detective starts to develop Alzheimer's?
And it kind of makes you sad that the next Holmes movie after that would end up being Holmes and Watson, with Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly.
Fire! Call the fire!
Yes.
That was bad. And you know what? It was such a bad movie and a bad idea. And my friend Nick worked on that movie.
Hi, Nick.
But, it kind of has come kind of a bit full circle now. As you mentioned, you're watching the Robert Downey Jr.'s. You've also got to say that Enola Holmes is amazing. I don't care what anyone says. I love Enola Holmes. And Enola Holmes too, as well. I think they are so well done.
I do have issues with the casting, though. I don't buy Henry Cavill as Holmes. He's too well defined and strong.
John Holmes.
Listen, what you watch in your private life is entirely up to you.
If they're going to do a John Holmes movie, surely that's John Hamm in that role.
Oh, God. His
Ham by
surname's
name,
Ham,
Ham by
for God's
nature.
sake. His surname's Ham. But everyone has their favourite actor that's ever played him. From like some people probably even like Matt Frewer when he decided that he was going to be Sherlock Holmes. Yeah. Loads of people love Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce, but I've never been a big fan of Nigel Bruce because of all his "oh God, kind of mentality. Good heavens, Holmes! How did you manage to work that out? And it's almost at odds with the fact that Watson is an ex-campaigner, and that is one thing that I did like about the Benedict Cumberbatch Martin Freeman one, is the fact that Holmes is Holmes, but Watson is probably the most accurate version of Watson because he is this old campaigner. He's a surgeon. He's just come back from war, so he would have a bit more about him than just like constant astonishment. But my personal favorite, though, as far as Holmes is concerned, is Jeremy Brett.
Okay.
I know that's a TV one, but my number one.
I mean, I'm going to throw this out because the whole Basil Rathbone thing, I mean, it lasted quite a while. So they did a number of movies, and they're all great. Dressed to Kill, Terror by Night, The Woman in Green, all of them that they did throughout the 30s and 40s, Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Going back to Hound of the Baskervilles, which was, I believe, the first.
Yes, because it was by far and away one of the most popular stories.
I do have a lot of fondness, and I think as movies get older, I appreciate them more and more. So I am having fun kind of rediscovering the old Basil Rathbone movies. And Reginald Owen as well did A Study in Scarlet, which was also a great inclusion. There are so many great, also the odd, terrible ones, or the odd, terrible one, Holmes and Watson. I think that's the only one I can put up there. When Basil the Great Mouse Detective is a better Sherlock Holmes movie, I just can't understand why that would even be greenlit.
I don't know. Someone somewhere thought that it would be a good idea. They just looked at Will Ferrell and what's his name? I want to say John.
Reilly.
That's it. I was just going to say John C. McGinley. It was just like, no.
It would have been great with John C. McGinley.
Yeah, especially if it was embracing his Dr. Cox character.
Never, not in a million years, absolutely not. No way, Jose, no chance, Lance, and yet, negatory, nah, and of course my own personal favorite of all time, man falling off of a cliff. No!
They talk about doing the third Sherlock Holmes with Downey and Jude Law. I think it'd be welcome. I'd love to see them have a stab at Hound of the Baskervilles. Because as you've just seen, they've just done the Poirot stuff, and they did A Haunting in Venice, which has been hugely successful and critically acclaimed.
All three of them have been very successful,
Yeah, I think now they could afford, and I believe it's legendary, I think they could afford, with Sherlock Holmes with Downey and Jude Law, to do a genuinely scary Hound of the Baskervilles movie.
Then again, his movies have always picked little elements from here and there from the canon. They've never really gone whole hog on one particular story or the other. So there's been like little elements. There's been a line plucked out here, or there's been an idea plucked out there. So whether or not they would go down the route of a specific story like Hound of the Baskervilles is up for grabs. They could do it an absolute blinder, but it's debatable. All we do know really is, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that there will come a time where there will be another Holmes and Watson movie, and it will be a proper Holmes and Watson movie.
Is it because they're in the public domain now?
Yeah.
So pretty much anybody can go out and make a Sherlock Holmes. We could go and make one.
We could go out and make one, yeah.
Right, let's go and get our uniforms on. We can write a totally original Sherlock Holmes story.
Yes. Good heavens!
Sherlock John Holmes. Good heavens, Holmes, look at the size of that meat hammer. I don't know if the chase is afoot, but that is. I'm so ashamed of myself.
Oh, I must put you to shame and also applaud that one. That was good.
You just blanked out the Z word.
Oh God! Right.
Anyway,
Well, with that filth ringing in your ears, I apologise, dear viewer. Do you have any final thoughts, Andy, or is it just like that image just going to be in your head now for the rest of the night?
oh my God! That's all
The
I can
thing is,
say.
he's not been drinking. I have. So what does that say?
Mine has been purely on water.
Yes, well, with that in mind, thank you very much for watching. You can check out all the socials. They'll be appearing on the screen right now. YouTube, Facebook, X, blah, 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 blah. You can also get us on Patreon, which is popping up on the screen round about now, where you can just get longer versions of these episodes. Maybe. I don't know. I think Andy's just kind of been thinking about long things too much, really, recently.
Well, I think we've been talking long enough about the fact you need to subscribe, people. Come on, let's get those fingers to work, clicking those buttons, and follow us. We've got more short forms coming out. We've got more long forms coming out. We have guests. We have guests coming back. We have our Poddywood.
It's just the way you said it.
See, and if you subscribe, you can just get this smut delivered to you in a notification all the time.
Yes, and before we go, if you want to discuss anything to do with all this, then just drop us a comment below. But for now, though, it is a goodbye from me.
And we'll see you on the next episode of Poddywood.
Bye.